book buddies, welcome back to my channel. Today I am chatting with Miss Alison Blasdell, the author of Daughter of the Sky, which is the second installment of the Touch the Sky series. Welcome, Alison. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. So, second installment, would you like to tell the viewers a little bit about your series? I guess basically what I'd like to start with is tell me what encouraged your foray into writing, because it's not your original profession, right? You haven't been a lifelong writer. So how did you jump into writing? What encouraged that?
I've only been publishing for 3 years. And at first I was rather shy and embarrassed to actually tell how I started writing, but now I think, oh, it's out there, everybody knows. All my storylines, all the novels come to me at dreams when I'm sleeping at night.
Oh, wow.
And not only will the dream start, now I have crazy dreams like everybody else that don't make any sense when you wake up in the morning, but these are different. And the story will start, it's like I'm watching a movie, and I'll wake up and then it will pick up again from where it left off, maybe a few nights later, maybe a week later. It can continue to months until the entire story has come to the end of the book.
Wow.
I know, it's not a normal dreaming pattern. I know. A psychiatrist friend of mine pointed that out to me.
That's amazing. So we have to touch on that a bit. So every morning or something like that, do you try to jot down notes, or you just wait until it's done and you just kind of remember the whole thing? Or
I wait until it's finished because I don't forget that. I will forget important things, you know, what I'm supposed to do that day. But no, I don't. Matter of fact, it's hard to get it out of my mind. You know, I start kind of going over it during the day. And so actually, that's how I started. But at the time, my husband and I were both working full time. My children were little. So that I would start typing once it finished. I'd start typing the story out at night after everybody was in bed and it was quiet, just for fun. I never planned on publishing. It was just fun. You know, it's like reading a good book. I had fun. And when I finished it, I just put it in a binder and threw it up on the shelf and forgot about it.
really?
I was, back when I was still working, I was a professor in my department and was invited to a dinner that was acknowledging and thanking benefactors, you know, people who donated money to the university. And my department had gotten quite some. So I went to the dinner, very nice, sitting with other faculty. And then the president got up to introduce the guest speaker. She was a psychic. Now, this shows my own bias and ignorance, because I thought, what? This is a university. Don't we have like some Nobel Prize person to speak? What do you mean a psychic? But she was legitimate. Apparently, she had done all kinds of work with police departments across the United States. Finished her speech, everyone applauded. I'm sitting there thinking, well, that was really strange, interesting. And then she started walking around to the tables, and I looked across the room and she looked at me, and it scared me, to tell you the truth. It was like, back, you know, it was like we're a vampire. And she came over to me and she put her hand on my shoulder and said, honey, when are you going to start writing and publishing those books? And talk about, it was scary. It did scare me, made me very uncomfortable. And she said, your angels have been giving you these stories every night. They're waiting for you to write them. And then she walked away. And seriously, that honestly happened. And I was like, I'm a very empirical person. I'm a science person. And that can't be. So seriously, that is how I started. That's it.
That is quite a story. I've never been like it.
Quite embarrassing.
No, it's something to be proud of. I mean, not everybody has the same, you know, I just felt, you know, most people start out as really avid readers and they decide to try their hand. Well, I shouldn't say most, but I know a lot of people who probably do it that way. But I think so many of us have stories in our head that we want to tell, but it's usually a long time coming because it's difficult to develop a story. But for you to have the whole story in your mind before you even start writing, that is totally a gift. And
I don't claim them. They are given to me. I mean, I have to do the research, I have to fill in everything, but essentially the plot and the characters are there in the storyline.
So speaking of, you know, your research, there's a lot of time travel in the stories in this particular series. And was that I know you said the story came to you in a dream. Did you find it difficult to research those periods, or was it something underneath the surface you always had an interest in? So you sort of.
It was difficult because I didn't know that much about those periods. One of my books takes place the last year of the US Civil War. I was much more comfortable with that history than I was Bronze Age Britain and Scotland, most definitely.
Right.
And then that was the Touch the Sky, and then the Daughter of the Sky that we're discussing. I knew who King Henry VIII was, but that was about the extent of it. I'm embarrassed to say that was about the extent of my knowledge of that period of history in England and Burgundy area of France. So yeah, it's a lot of research. It takes a lot of time, but I like it. No, unfortunately, I never dream about anything I know anything about.
Well,
no medical novels,
in that.
Nothing coming out. No.
So since you've had the dreams, have you found a new interest in all these, like the different countries and the different eras? Have you have, not just for the stories, but now you're.
Yes, I really identify with my characters, very much so. The time period, and yes, I have been fortunate to travel to the places to enhance my research, to learn more myself. And most of my books I've been able to go to. Right now I'm working on, actually I'm almost finished with it, the third in the Touch the Sky series, which will be the third and the final. And this time Jennifer, the protagonist, sees life through the eyes of a 10-year-old. Well, Rus, it would have been modern day Russia, but during the 13th century, 1200s, when Genghis Khan is conquering Russia. And I had absolutely nothing about Mongolian history. So it took a
this was also a dream?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's my excuse. When someone said, well, why did you do this? I said, not my fault. That's how the angels gave it to me, and I'm not about to play around with it. That's a story they want told. I'll do it.
So they gave you great stories. I really enjoyed. Unfortunately, I have not yet read Touch the Sky, but of course I want to now because we get a bit of Sela or information about the book. So I am quite interested in seeing how all of that developed and played out. So we are here with Jennifer and Derek, and I guess my question I'd like to ask now, I hope it's not a touchy subject, but in this book, Daughter of the Sky, Jennifer is still married to the husband.
Be kind of careful because you don't do any spoilers here.
I don't want to do any spoilers, so anybody who's read should know that she's married. So what did you find that essential to the plot to have her with Derek and the situation going on with her?
You mean in terms of having I guess you call an affair?
Right. They're really in love, and we don't want to do any spoilers, but what was it, just your dream? Because I didn't know that part until you just told me. Was it because that's the way it played out in the dream you saw it right that way, or is there more meaning behind it?
No, that's exactly how it came in the dream. Exactly the story. And I know you had mentioned once before about romance. People who enjoy romance may be uncomfortable, with infidelity in any matter. And I think there's probably a portion. Now, I haven't encountered that yet for my readers. It doesn't mean that there aren't some that feel that way. But I also think that the whole genre of romance has expanded so much to the point of subgenres, within that field, whether it's contemporary or historical or Christian or thriller or mystery, or it goes on and on. I think I am known for blending genres, but I think the whole field is starting to do that a little bit. And so I think that kind of maybe opens up the gate a little bit more, makes non-traditional ideas not so offensive or not so strange or uncomfortable, perhaps as they may have been at one time.
I agree. Because the book by definition is not a romance, right? It's so much, it's time travel, there's mystery.
Different editors have slotted it differently.
Right.
Typically, it's not time travel, it is split time.
Right.
because she doesn't actually go back and interact. She has no control. She just
Right.
sees what's happening then. But that aspect, some editors have called that aspect paranormal. Others have called it fantasy. Those two definitions used to be clear. Fantasy were dragons, paranormal was you saw a ghost or something, and now those are getting kind of hazy. So it's been slotted as both that, historic and romance. So those are kind of the three, historic and romance and paranormal / fantasy.
Yeah, it does have the, because when I was reading, it seems like you're absolutely right. And when I was going to call it, when I was identifying as time travel, I was saying the same thing. It's not like this quantum leap thing where it physically goes into the other time, but like the Time Traveler's Wife, that movie, or it's not like that, but she tends to feel what they feel. Yeah, it's a book too. She tends to feel what they feel. So it's almost like, we don't want to say she's inhabiting their body because that period is over, but it's hard to even explain.
It is. Yeah, because
You're right. You can't say time travel, but
and that's easy. People identify and understand time travel more.
right.
Anyway, so that gives them a clue anyway, if somebody hasn't read it yet or is curious about it.
Okay. So third book will be coming out. Will we be seeing some of the, we don't want to do any spoilers, but there are some really wonderful characters in the book. And so
Well, Derek is still there.
Derek is still there. Yes.
Derek, archaeologist, is still there. They will have some difficult times in this third book.
Okay.
In the first book, Jennifer herself was discovering, that she would see these other time periods and didn't understand them. Derek had a couple hypotheses in terms of why it was happening. In the second book, at the end, Jennifer learns who she is and why this is happening. In the third one, she has to confront the expectations of who she is, the ramifications of who she is, and they have some trouble. But I don't want to read sad books that don't have a happy ending, and so I won't write anything that doesn't have a happy ending.
So that's good. That's good for the romance lovers.
Yes, no, I don't. Life's sad enough. I taught medicine for how many of those years, and it was my life all the time. Tragedy, sadness, disease. And so when I want to relax, I do not want to read anything that is sad or something that I see 24/7 on the news. I don't read for that purpose. That was work reading. This is just fun reading.
This is fun reading.
And this is my personality. I don't want to be made sad. And same way with movies. I can't watch sad movies because it stays with me. The sadness stays with me. And I just said, no, there's enough sadness around. I can't. And don't hurt an animal at all in any of them. Don't.
The dogs in the especially Izzy and the dogs are there. They are I mean, every pet in a book is a character. Except these animals play a huge role.
They do. They play an important role. You need to in the third one.
As well as in the third one. So what else do you have planned for us? Are we waiting on another dream or have written some notes?
I have also just finished the second book, the sequel to The Confederate's Physician. I think we're going to hold off on that probably. I'm not sure. I don't think that's going to come out probably until maybe March.
Okay.
But it is a sequel. In The Confederate's Physician, it ended, and that was pure historic romance. I mean, that's easy to classify that book. And it ended at the end of the Civil War. So this one picks up during the Reconstruction era, as well as the Plains Indian Wars out on the western frontier. But the same characters, except the Civil War characters, the male and female, the protagonist and antagonist people. This is a modern story where the sixth generation granddaughter reads the diary of Samantha, who was in the Civil War. And that's how you learn what happened to them at the end of the war.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of an interesting Native American spiritual twist to it, too. I always have that little extra component that goes beyond the empirical. I think I was locked into empirical for all my life. Now I think that's it. Other side of my brain, what would you guys like to create? No more science. Let's go beyond. I
Yes,
don't know.
that was your profession. I remember reading about that. So basically, you have a lot more research to do for this next book, dealing with
I've almost finished it, but yes, that era, again, of the Plains Indian Wars, the chiefs, the battles, I knew something of it, but nothing like I understand now with the sensitivity that I've now developed. And when I'm writing, when you're writing like that, you have to be careful because it's fiction. So I want to have things happen, but like there's an Indian, a modern Indian tribe, I had to be careful about what I want to say is happening in the fiction setting and not ascribe any of those behaviors to the current tribe, or ethnicity. And so it's a fine line, I think, when you're writing fiction, but bringing in either real contemporary situations or even past historic figures. It's a very fine line. Bottom line is it's fiction. And then as authors, we create and add to it. But I'm always careful at the end of each of my books to write some author's notes to state clearly what was my idea, what was fact, and in this case, what is really happening versus what I was creating. I hope it was done respectfully and with some sensitivity.
Absolutely. Do you, when you're doing your research, is it mostly like computers and books, or do you actually get to talk to people who may have be maybe like professors or other
All
people they study?
all three: travel, reading, books, internet, and people.
People.
And when I did the Confederate's Physician, while I live right here close, I was able to get close to the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library Museum. I'm like, yes, what an easy source of information. Except, history is written by the winners.
Mhm.
And it was interesting when I started reading, I could tell very quickly whether this was a Southern writer or a Northern writer, because we all have biases and they came in, to their description, their perspective of war. And so I have to be aware of that too when I'm reading accounts. Who wrote this account? Or when I'm talking to someone, what is their background? What are their feelings about the topic? What are their experiences and how are they influenced either what they're saying or what I'm reading? And that's just human nature. That's human beings. That's who we are.
Absolutely. How do you, if you don't mind me asking, how would you make the distinction of if you have one, topic and then two different perspectives? How would you decide which one to use? Like, how do you know which is the most credible?
If they are purely controversial, I just have to dig deeper and try to find more information. And then I will make sure that I tell the reader that in my notes at the end of the book.
Okay.
Like the notion with Christian religions and reincarnation is discussed. I wanted to make it very clear that in modern Christian theology, reincarnation is not a part of modern doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
However, at one time it was. So I want people to make sure they understand that. And are there still some Christians who believe in it? Yes, yes. So that I want to make sure that I make those kind of things clear. Beyond that, I don't want people to have to think too hard. I want them just to relax and enjoy. These are these are supposed to be for help you escape from everyday life for a little bit.
Exactly. Wonderful. So do you have anything planned? I know you say you have the historical romance you're working on. Do you ever have any intention of doing straight thriller, suspense, maybe I know you don't like sadness, but I love a good murder mystery, just like a cool thing.
I have 5 books so far that are published. 2 of them are in the thriller spy category. Where'd that come from? Dreams, again, I can claim it. One is this pure spy thriller with romance in it. The other is spy thriller with a little bit of a twist of the cosmos in there.
Oh,
It's been interesting.
seems like you really like to incorporate
Sorry?
No, I'm sorry. It seems as you really like to incorporate a bit of fantasy sci-fi type.
I do. I like to go beyond the empirical. But when I read for fun, spy thrillers are one of my favorite favorite things to read. And I just think, yes, the good guys always win. Take care of it, it's done. And like, yes.
Yeah, I find that very funny.
Sometimes a little on the violent side. But that and historic, I like historic books too. Historic romances, I enjoy reading those.
I do too.
I like to, I think the reason that I blend genres because I like to read so many different genres. I myself am not satisfied with just one. So I think that's just how my brain works, and that's how the stories come.
You do an excellent job blending the genres. I mean, if it's like you said it, in the Touch the Sky series, and I've in particular read Daughter of the Sky, it's really hard to place where that belongs.
I know.
That's so
And
many elements.
And you're in the publishing and editing industry. I get in trouble for that because I'm supposed to have a clear-cut brand that I can be pigeonholed. And it's a little tough. The only thing is, the only commonality is that all of my books have a woman as a center focus with, and she's facing some kind of adversity, whether it's emotional or physical, and she emerges triumphantly. So that's the only thing that's common in every one of my books. That's the central character, and she's gonna have tough things to overcome. And that's the only thing I can pigeonhole in. The rest of it, you're right, it is hard, and I get in trouble for that all the time. I do, because I'm not a nice, clear brand genre.
No, it's not. But you appeal to such a diverse readership, because people who prefer science fiction and fantasy would enjoy it. Romance readers will have their bed, and there's a mystery to solve because we don't understand why that's happening to her. So I think you checked a lot of boxes, which is a good thing.
You're right. I have noticed that I have a very diverse readership. And you can't always tell, but especially the spy thriller ones, those are predominantly male readers. And the ones that have the romance in it, those are more tilted more towards female readers. But anyway, that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, I think it's a wonderful book. I'm looking forward to the third, because now I need to know why that's happening to her. And while I'm waiting on that release date, I will go back and read Touch the Sky. Do you have, if you wouldn't mind, for the viewers to share the release dates for the upcoming?
As soon as I have the definite date, I will let you know. Can we do it that way?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, you know how it is. It hasn't been nailed down yet, but I will definitely let you know. I'm thinking it's probably going to be around March, but I'm not certain.
Absolutely. Okay.
But I will absolutely let you know. I will. And thank you for asking. No, I'm pleased. I'm honored to let you know.
Yes, I would have to do a review. I would need to do a review on Daughter of the Sky. I think I would like to read the entire, at least go back and read Touch the Sky first. But it's awesome story.
Daughter of the Sky can stand alone, but I certainly think it probably flows better if you read Touch the Sky first. But
yes, I was not confused at all reading Daughter of the Sky. I mean,
good.
No, there was a first because of things that were said, but I was not lost. I didn't feel cheated or confused. Yeah, you know that. So it's just me personally wanting to read it. I was did an outstanding job. Yeah. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you would like to share, or we pretty much covered it?
No, just thank you. I'm honored really that you asked me to do this interview. It's been a real pleasure for me.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. I appreciate you agreeing. We had some touch and go there, but we're like the women in your stories. We're triumphant.
We did it. Yes.
Yes.
Like a little computer glitch is going to get us.
Yes. No. We did rise above it. We're great. We're great. So, I appreciate it so much, and it's been an honor to meet you. It's been my pleasure to chat with you today, and I hope you'll come back and join me for another interview.
I'd love to. Absolutely love to.
Thank you so
Thank
much. I
you.
appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.